It's recording now for the top of your skull.
I wanted you to be like, hey, where'd you go? And I'd be like, hi, here
That'd
I
be
am.
that'd be
Huh?
adorable. That'd be adorable.
Well,
It'd
I
be
do.
fun. I'm assuming you can't hear me because we live in the same house and we're in two different rooms. And
No,
apparently,
I can hear you.
in 2025, internet connection has just degraded over time, which
Hmm.
I think is like indicative of our society.
Totally.
But we were just eating outside together. I was eating my mush. You were eating granola and mush. You eat some mush as much as you make fun of my mush. But what I convinced you to do was to do this. And you said, no, I want to do a walk for UVA and UVB. And then I said, only on this condition, because that's how we do. Our love is very conditional and trade oriented. No, what's one of our friends, who shall remain nameless, said the problem was that we didn't have enough crystal
Oh my
before.
gosh. That's not true.
So now we're gonna have more crystal.
It's
So
not.
we, so what's cool? A cool thing I just wanted to riff with you on, honey, is the idea of authenticity. And I want to riff on it because I think it's the small things are the big things, which are everything. And the small things with the idea of authenticity is like if you don't know where you're starting, you don't know where you're going, or you think you know where you're going, but you're not going into the place you think you're going because you have a misnomer about where you're starting. So the idea of authenticity, I think, is massive in the zeitgeist right now, and it's something that you and I share. Do you want to speak on that at all? Do you think we have a very transparent, authentic relationship?
Oh, I am not getting on a podcast and talking about my relationship
This
today.
isn't a podcast, but I'd like to talk about our most intimate details. So I know it's,
Every minor detail. No, I really did just want to go for a walk, you know? And on the topic of the little things are the big things are everything, the little things for me are just taking a couple steps after a meal out in the sunshine.
which I'm stopping.
Yeah, which you're
Right.
stopping.
So what's cool though is we did a sauna and
I authentically told you that.
we did a cool plunge. I don't want to call it a cold plunge, but you were in the cool plunge talking about you're going to get tuning forks because like you're trying to do
Maybe,
something.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, you're reading a book. What's the book you're reading?
Electric body.
Okay. And what's kind of very cool as we grow, I think, together is that, you recognize that I'm doing this because I like to talk and hear myself talk, this particularly, and that you like to read and learn and grow and I think try new cool spiritual shit. So that's kind of your shtick that you're going to potentially try next. Is that fair?
Potentially, I'm committing to not only my husband, but I'm committing to myself to complete the book in full.
Okay.
If I still feel a draw, because you know you get like that
Kicks.
initial, yeah, or you like just get excited about something. You're like, I have to do everything right now and change everything and the trajectory of my whole life. And
Yeah.
that's I just want to make sure it's not one of those, that it's like a deeper thing than that. So I'm gonna get through the whole book and potentially buy some tuning forks. I like the idea of healing people. And
Yeah.
it came out a little sideways during COVID because I thought I quote unquote needed to save everyone or could save everyone, and obviously I can't. Um,
You just need to try harder, honey.
yeah, I just feel like clearly that energy like is like it's in here and it like needs to come out into the world, and I don't know what my channel or medium is yet. So I'm like trying to find my way with it. So, yeah,
It's on the job training, right?
all of it.
Why do you think well, first of all, do you think authenticity is kind of like a bigger deal culturally right now? And if so, why?
What do you mean by bigger deal and what is bigger?
I gotta be
Sorry,
like
words are
this.
important.
More prevalent energetically in the zeitgeist, in the collective conscious or subconscious.
Yes and no. I mean, oh, there's a little neighbor, this little car. He's so cute. It's kind of fun, like looking out the window right here. You get to like scoop it all, you know? Yes and no. I think that on one hand, um, people are searching for the truth in everything, and it feels harder and harder to find. And then I think on the other hand, people are overly medicated and sick and stuck in the matrix and don't really give a fuck about it. So
Do you,
it's
hold
weird.
on, but do you think those people are not searching for the truth? That even if they're on, like, let's say, like an
Autopilot.
SSRI, or I mean, medication can come in many forms, right? Pornography, alcohol, drugs, other, let's say, three-dimensional distractions. So, I mean, do you think that those people aren't necessarily searching for the truth, or do you think they're just searching it in the wrong way, so to speak?
I don't think there's right or wrong. I think that there are seekers and there are people who are just kind of running on the hamster wheel based on their upbringing and societal norms and indoctrination, depending on if and if not they went through schooling and what their family's expectations of them are. I think a lot of people are just trying to survive.
Well, how would you define the difference between quote unquote searching for truth and just searching for like getting through the day? I mean, what's the difference to you?
I think so many people are not searching for anything. I think they're just on autopilot where they're hitting like the start button on like the same day they had yesterday. And like going through the exact same motions and waking up at the same time and getting the same coffee mug and getting the same coffee and brewing it in the same way and looking off when they do that. And it's just autopilot that there's not even much thought to it. They're just like, what's next on my list? Let me get that done. Did I stop and think, do I really want to be doing this? Why am I doing this? What's this all about? What's the deeper meaning? You know?
Do you not think we do that?
Which part?
So the like, let's say, like the habitual behavior.
Yeah, I think everybody has the habitual. And I think that not everyone has an interest in digging deeper. Just the people I've talked to and the conversations I've been in, and it's just some people are just like, yeah, I just don't care. I just don't care about that. I don't care. I'm just gonna keep like doing it and like eventually retire and like then I'll be saved kind of concept.
Is there something right or wrong about that? I mean,
No,
what?
if the thing is, if it's working for you and you're happy and you feel free and you're thriving, you're healthy, rock and roll. And if those attributes are not prevalent, I think then you should try something else. If you want. Or I mean, some people love living in misery.
But
Like
you're equating it to, why does it automatically have to be misery, right? I mean, like that's like
to me, that's misery. That's how I'd best define that. To me, that idea of not wanting to dig beneath the surface on literally anything is just kill me now. It's death. Like death.
but do you think it's like your kind of karmic journey from past lives? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, do you believe in that? That like there's this is not the only life, that you've had previous lives?
Potentially. I mean, I believe in that concept. It's like it's hard because like I don't remember a past life that I've had. I can't like speak to that. Obviously, we did the Akashic records. They were like, you guys have had what
There's
was
a
it,
lot.
14,000, lives together, which is really cool and beautiful. It makes sense why we energetically jived right away. Like, and it was an unbreakable bond. Like that part made sense and why I felt a sense of safety and familiarity in your soul when I met you. Beyond that, though, I can't get in touch with a moment where I was like, oh yeah, remember that from the last go around.
Can I
You
tell
know
the
that killed that guy, or you know what I mean? Like,
can I tell the Akashic record story, like a quick version? Because I
oh
think
yeah,
there's some cool
totally.
stuff in it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep
So
eating my gelatin while you do that.
that's cool. Crystal and I had an Akashic reading. I think that was 2 years, a year, sometime
At
in the
least last
past,
year.
recent history. But
Last year we had eyeballs, remember?
yeah, so I'm 41. Right before I turned 40, I started to see like double vision. We were driving home. We were driving back to Arizona from Southern California after like a 6, 7 hour drive, and I started to see weird lights. And in hindsight, apparently they call them on the internet kaleidoscope migraines. But that led into like a few months of like struggling with reading my computer screen, and I am a workaholic, maybe, in addition to an alcoholic. No, I don't
This is
know
the first time you've ever admitted that?
that I'm a workaholic.
I'm
I have
gonna
a lot
sue
of aholic in my life, but I
you.
and long story short, I struggled
Okay, long story long, okay?
for a year and a half, and Crystal found an Akashic reader, which is apparently like that. There's, if you think about it, and I'm going to screw it up, but like energy is like just feeding into like an energetic like cloud, right? Like it's basically like think about like all of the data on our phones and our laptops that like the NSA and the CIA is sucking up. So think about that, but like in a
Your file cabinet.
spiritual way of
Yeah.
like past and future lives and everything's happening all at once. But the woman who gave us our reading shared, and she knew nothing about my eyesight issues at the time, but she shared that we had spent all these different lives together, and one of the lives that we had together, she helped Crystal, which you were like energy one or something, or signature one, like helped cure blindness, like in Italy, like, and brought me to like a farm. And I was having all these issues with my father at the time, which in this iteration, I've never met my father. So that's been like a part of my kind of karmic journey, I guess. And also need for paternal approval, which has shown up in so many different ways. Sponsors and buddies and just people in general, I think. And, this is my wife, I'm all over the place, has been really supportive of this idea, whatever this is. And, one of the people she told me to talk to, and I'm actually going to talk to him Friday, is a good friend of ours named Joe. And Joe's really weird and cool. And, anyways, Joe is, honey, I'm actually planning on talking to him about some of this stuff and about authenticity. So that's kind of top of mind for me.
Cool.
And
I'm
healing.
excited for that for you guys.
Yeah, and healing. And I was actually texting him like, so Crystal and I are listening to Gabor Mate, when the body says no, and then we've been kind of comparing, contrasting that with Joe Dispenza, and the orientation of like, is my body working against me or is my body healing? But not to spoil Friday episode with Joe. But anyways, that's the thing, is that Crystal in my past life apparently helped heal my eyes, and that was our
Like I prayed at your
Akashic.
bedside, apparently. Like
Yeah,
every day, like help heal him, make him better, please. And then poof, you were better. And we were on a farm in Italy. That was what was that in like the 1800s, supposedly?
yeah.
So
Sh-
who knows?
ca Can I tell one more farm story, and then we can go take a walk to get the UVA and B
Just
benefits for our
one. I just
hormones?
want the one. I just want the one.
So the farm story. So a few weeks ago, we were walking around Old Town. We drove into Old Town,
Big shocker.
and well, we always go on Saturdays. We never go on Sundays. So that's kind of,
Sometimes we go on Sunday.
what's that?
Sometimes we go on Sunday.
Rarely, rarely. We always go Saturday. So Sunday, we had the sniffles, so we didn't go Saturday. So we went Sunday, and then we pulled behind a car that had a license plate that said something 777, and this one goes, "Oh, we got to look for the
This way.
synchronicities."
This one.
This one goes, "We got to look for the synchronicities," and I'm like, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit in my head,
You totally did.
and
No, it was
we
outward.
we stopped at the coffee shop and we started to talk about Portland, Oregon. We have two people getting married this summer, and a
What a
little bit of
gift, by the way, of
a little bit
that.
of a secret. I was kind of trying to bend her arm to say, which one could we get out of? But I secretly
Yeah.
also love Portland, Oregon, in this romantic
I
way.
secretly also very much love both couples getting married, but yeah, I guess I'll be the one to
Yeah,
celebrate
you do. No, and
if you know
so
what I mean.
anyway, so we were talking about Portland, Oregon, and then we were walking, and there was this gentleman that was just standing there, sticking out like a sore thumb, and we both noticed him and thought, that's weird energy. We put our jackets back in the car because the sun came out.
Pause. Was it weird energy or was it magnetic energy that like vortexed us in to his space?
I mean,
Or
honestly,
like that? Because it's like, is it that he was wearing a hat and dreads, or is it that there was something that was like pulling us in that we didn't even know?
I really hope this records.
Oh, okay.
Because like this is all I want to do is just chop it up with you.
This is
No,
what we do all day.
well, so I would agree with you, and I think it's magnetism, and I think that, well, a few things. I think it's wavelength, right? So it's like I do believe like that it's
Interesting.
all we move from like Dispenza says we move from particle to wave, right? And we say like, oh, that person's my vibe. It's genuinely a frequency. And I think that's one thing. And I think in relation to probably overlap and like maybe a little bit of a handshake is that I do believe that we've met in previous lives and that we have a bunch of people, and Ram Dass always talks about that, right? Like there's only like, what does he say? Like 7 of us or something like, and we're each other's
We're
mothers and
all like
brothers and
presidents and brothers and sisters,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
lovers. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So that gets a little spicy, but
yeah.
depending on how you want to think about that one. But
Oh yeah,
anyways,
that
I
one.
would agree that I think it was magnetism.
Hmm.
So we put our jackets back, and then we had to walk back. And 10 minutes later, as we were walking, the same cat, he's like sitting now in a different spot, and I just couldn't not say something, and I felt called to, right? So
But
I
as
walked.
the person who was standing next to you, that's why I brought that up because it literally felt like your body started like
Yeah,
moving in the direction of this human, and I'm
yeah,
like, that's not the way we have to go, honey. Like we got to go
yeah,
that, we got to go pee per usual. And you're just like you couldn't stop, and you also weren't saying anything, so it was really
yeah,
weird as an outsider that you're just like bye.
yeah.
So, anyways, continue.
I think that's kind of how life works in a certain sense. But so I walked up to him and I did my classic hand gesture intro. That is, what's going on here? And
You know what I just thought of really quick?
what's
What's up
that?
with that?
What's up with that? And then Jason Sudeikis, like, and
Can you
then
make that the intro clip for this?
God, Jason Sudeikis is
Oh,
so
he's so good.
funny.
He's
The
so good.
Portlandia episode when him and Fred Armisen and Carrie kind of have like this weird romantic triangle of love.
Oh, where he's like the cult leader at the farm, oddly enough.
Yeah, I think obviously in Portland, but then he does one of these. I think Sudeikis does like
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I want to do that kind of like that type of gesturing
And he like flicks
salutation.
his ear or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's just some people are just so gifted with certain things, right? Like
Anyways,
being,
back to our friend whose name I unfortunately can't remember.
I remember, but I'm not gonna dox him
Oh,
when you have 5 million people watching this an hour. So I did the what's going on here, and he just smiled, and his response was, "Oh, are you from here?" And we said, "No, we are from all over. We've lived all over, but we currently live here." And so where are you from? And he goes, "Oh, Portland, Oregon." And I'm like, "Ah, kismet." And then what ended up happening was we connected the dots on like several things. Like he hung out at the coffee shop that we lived across the street from, the Extracto in Portland
where we met another great friend.
on Killingsworth, where we met John Fish, Folklore Hats.
No
Plug.
names. That's why I said great friend.
Oh, he gets a plug because of the 3 people that will see this might buy a
Makes
hat.
great hats. If you need a
And
hat,
and
folklore.
I want that vig. So
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah, we're getting kickbacks.
so this cat from Portland, okay, who shall remain nameless, talked about that, and then out of nowhere, he just kind of brought us to this experience he had 20 years ago. He's my age. He's also 41. I know I look not a day past 42, but he's also 41, and he shared about 20 years ago that his father, who had like a larger than life kind of persona, but it sounded like he was very Eastern oriented in terms of religion and beliefs, and then his mother, who apparently struggled with addiction, which obviously I relate to, that she had more of a Western kind of like Christ-based orientation, and that back then he somehow had this experience where they merged, and that he held his palm out, and he was like, for 20 or 30 minutes, I was in the palm of God's hand and had a conversation asking him anything and everything. And since then, I've felt at peace. And what's back to,
Was at peace,
well,
by the
so
way.
I was going to say back to the beginning so that we
Yeah.
can get you on your walk, that you felt it, right? And it's kind of like people don't remember necessarily what you say, but they remember how they made you feel. And I'll remember that conversation. I'll never forget
In
this
the next
day.
lifetime
not a
Not a
chance.
chance.
Office code quotes and references. But I remember how he had us feel, made me feel. But then I think also within that, what he was doing was he was, I think, genuinely resonating, resurrecting that truthful, honest, authentic experience that he had. And it's interesting. A good friend of mine who shall also remain nameless. I talked to him for an hour today, trying to convince him to do this with me. But we were talking at length about, I've been in recovery and sober for 17 years, and stuff that you heard back then, or felt or whatever experienced like that you thought was like real, kind of isn't. And like, the idea of, I think the paradigm shift culturally, and then it impacts every tribe and community, and then obviously individuals in terms of the authenticity. And, I was asking you a bunch of definitions, and then you always ask me. But I would say, how do you know is when you know. And like, I think it's something that goes like this, and it turns like this, and it stabs you in the heart. And to me, that is something that you can experientially have in terms of authenticity versus a definition, right? Because it's kind of
Does
like,
it have to be painful, or is it like a beautiful stabbing, like a romantic, poetic stabbing?
I think it's an aha. And that aha can be
Like,
tears, laughter, physical pain, emotional pain and strife, joy. I mean, but it's still an aha. And that's the thing is, I think the aha is more cliches, but it's the cracks where the light shines through, right?
hmm
I'm just going to keep giving you one-liners, and before you know it, I'm going to go to my 12-step one-liners when you're not looking, and then,
Please don't.
anyways,
I like these better. But you know what? On that note, like, I think what's something that's really
hurry
cool,
up, I want to walk.
very funny, something that's really cool about us is that, like, I really appreciate that we're willing to just, like, go out on the weekend and walk around and, like, see some familiar locals, but then just, like, walk up to people and ask what their deal is
Yeah,
because we've done this so many times, like, almost every weekend. Like, I think also about the old lady whose husband was dying, right?
yeah.
Berdina's. And that conversation just stuck with me. Like I couldn't shake it. She was there sipping a latte while he was dying, and just like, I haven't really figured out how to process this. So today I decided to get dressed up and take myself out for a latte. And it's like, I have goosebumps just retelling that. So I
Or
love
that's what, or that's
that.
what her story was.
Yeah.
She's a pathological liar.
She doesn't have
Every
a husband.
There's no husband, unmarried her whole life. Every time that there's a new couple or a person, she just starts a new story, and like that's her.
Sad story. She's actually like a money launderer.
Yeah, that's her juice though. Like
Yeah.
the like Tom Sizemore says, the action is the juice.
Oh, he would. He would.
I just had to get it on, man. All right.
That's so lovely. I can't wait to take a UVB walk.
I love you
Mwah.
so much, honey. Goodbye.
Love you.